Welcome. My name is James Cheng, and this is the condensed version of Dim Sum Ordering 101. You can see the full version in 90 minutes with host Andrea James Louie and a number of guests. This picture is taken when my friend was eating dim sum in Vancouver with her family. And this is not the beginning of the meal, but the end of the meal when everyone was full. And those baskets of dim sum are actually full. All those steamers and below are full of dim sum. So this is a lot of food. And here's a comment from my friend, James Cheng. My sister frequently quoted your algorithmic ability to order just the right amount of dim sum during this fiasco. LOL. So over a number of decades, I've figured out how to make sure you're ordering the right amount of dim sum for the number of people and to get the best tasting dim sum. Here's some tips and tricks, as you will see. Before we get started, here's a quick dim sum quiz to see how much you know and just to give you a little bit of background on dim sum. Number one, what does dim sum literally mean? For 2 points. Name 3 places, countries, or cities where people more often say yum cha and not dim sum. Number 3, what country and province is dim sum from? For 2 points. Number 4, approximately how many dim sum dishes originated from the provincial capital with the most dim sum dishes? So if you look at the province, how many dim sum dishes originated from the capital, where most of the dim sum actually originated? Number 5, in what century did dim sum originate? Pause here if you'd like to try and answer these questions for 9 points. And now for the answers. Number 1, what does dim sum actually mean? Dim is touch or dot. Sum is heart. And it's often translated as heart's delight. But the term actually means small snacks. Small snacks could be over lunchtime. It could be over late dinner. It could also be in the afternoon. So this is not very specific to dim sum. Dim sum is a general term just to eat small things. But this is not how dim sum is called around the world. There are 3 places, countries, and cities where people more often say yum cha, not dim sum. 1, Hong Kong. Most people say, we're going to go yum cha. What does yum cha mean? It means to drink tea. In Mandarin, this is yin cha. Let's go drink tea. And the idea is when you drink tea, you have some small snacks with your tea to enjoy your meal. And dim sum is the actual food itself and is used as a noun. So let's go yum cha, or let's eat dim sum. Hong Kong. Japan, they say yum cha. Yum cha o tabemasu. Yum cha ni ikimasu, or tenshin o tabemasu. So both are used, but my friend tells me yum cha is what's used in Japan. 3rd place, Australia. If you say dim sum, they may not understand what you mean. You'll have to say, let's go for yum cha. Number 3, what country and province is dim sum from? There's actually a map on the left, which is a little bit misleading. Yes, dim sum is from China. And many people associate dim sum with Canton province, which is in red in the southeast part of China. The capital is Guangzhou. But actually, dim sum comes from many parts of China. There's dim sum from many different cities and provinces in China. But what's the reason why you may associate dim sum with Canton or Guangdong province is because that's where most of the dishes originated from. And the provincial capital with the most dim sum dishes is 1,000. And I can't remember if there's like 1,500 dishes from around China. So different areas, you can get different types of dim sum. There's northern style dim sum, Shanghai dim sum, and different types of restaurants will specialize in different types of dim sum. So depending on what they specialize in, you may actually want to try the specialty of that restaurant. When did it originate? Around 1800s, mid 1800s. So it's not that old of food. Now, here's the meat of the seminar, which is becoming a dim sum ordering expert in 5 steps. Here's what I'm going to cover. This is certainly not comprehensive, but it does give you a sense of how to start ordering dim sum like an expert. Choosing a restaurant. How many people should go? When should you go? How much do you order? And what should you order? First, one key decision you may want to make is what kind of restaurant do you want to go to? Do you want one that has carts, or do you want one that has a menu where you order from? So in the bottom right, you can see my expert suggestion choice is to use the menu. There are a couple of reasons for that. You actually mark what you want, and the food comes to your table. It's hot, it's fast. You get what you want, and you get to maybe even spend time to think to craft your menu a little bit. Carts certainly are a fun way. Not all cities have it. Not all restaurants have carts. I'd say over time in Canada, I guess in the United States, it's become less popular. Restaurants sometimes don't like to use carts because you're putting food on the carts, you're pushing them around. They have, people push the carts around in the um, on the floor between the tables, and people can pick and choose. And you usually have an ordering sheet. And when you order something, they will mark off large, medium, or small. At the end, based on the size, you'll be charged that amount. So a couple reasons why I'm not such a fan of carts, despite it being a fun experience, is oftentimes when the food gets to your table, it's a little cold, or if they have a built-in steamer in the cart, it actually overcooks a little bit. So you're not getting optimum food choices. The other thing is many times the most popular items run out. So by the time it gets to you, you don't have one of my favorites is the shrimp dumpling, hagao, or even the pork dumpling, sumai, which are often served together. So if you're left waiting, then you may not actually get it when you get to the restaurant. You may be eating things that you're not familiar with or less likely to try. So certainly for if you're going with others who know how to order off the carts and can default and ask questions and order things off a menu, if, for example, the shrimp dumplings haven't come, you might need to put in a special order. You just have to be ready to deal with that. But certainly menu, I find, is easier, and that is actually what I recommend, even for a first time. I think that's a good option to enjoy the food. Step 2, how many should go? Well, I recommend 4, especially if you're going and ordering for a group. It's a nice time to kind of check out some foods, try some things. A lot of the dishes come in with 4 dumplings. Sometimes there's 3, so it makes it easy to share. And certainly if you have one with 3, what you can easily do is cut one of them in half, ask for some scissors or a knife and fork, or when they bring it to your table, you can ask them if they can cut it on the spot. Many of these places will have scissors to help you cut. And even things that, spring rolls or other things that maybe you have 3 of them, cut them in half, everyone can take one, and those who want more or who like it can get extra. So I recommend 4, but certainly 3 or 6 people is a strong option because you're sharing food. Other good options, certainly 5 or 7 to 12, maybe on the lower end, a little better. Fair options, 2 people, you get 4 dishes, 5 dishes to share. May not be what I would recommend. I think it's nice to eat one thing of, a few different things, but certainly it's doable. And 13 plus can get a little crowded and a little challenging, but doable. I think the only one I would try to minimize is going by yourself and ordering, although there are some restaurants that have a dim sum platter where, for a set price, they will give you one of, 5 or 6 different items, pay one price and you get the variety, but you're eating on your own. So certainly those are great. And I think it'd be nice for restaurants to do that to cater to more single eaters, since that's, the food's always a lot of fun and you're in an environment where you can, enjoy the buzz and the excitement. When should you go? Well, really it's up to you. If you only have lunchtime to go and you want to go at noon, great. If you do have the luxury of choosing, while, dim sum usually happens from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and the peak is between 11:30 and 1:30. If you have the opportunity to go early, you might be able to get a discount, often called early bird, or in fewer cases, afternoon tea. Early birds usually, in before 11 or pay by 11 or 10:45, or every restaurant has different options. You can look, they'll usually advertise in the window, or you might want to go to the restaurant or to see what the menu looks like. And often it's on the bottom where they'll indicate, different times where they have the early bird special, or the days. Many places will only offer early birds weekdays. Some will also offer it on the weekends, and a number of places don't offer any early bird specials at all. But certainly, if you like the dim sum, if it's convenient for you to go, that's something I would certainly check out, and that's a way to lower the costs. And if you're going with people who want to save some money, it's a great option. Certainly, dim sum in Toronto nowadays is costing around $25 a person, and you might be able to have this for 20, maybe even 15 if you're eating not so much, and it could go up to 30. So you can kind of judge on what you want for that. You can have dim sum at dinner, but it's uncommon. So I generally wouldn't. It takes, there's a whole kitchen setup of doing the dim sum, unless a restaurant specializes in dim sum and serves a lot of dim sum over dinner. I think you would get suboptimal quality. So I definitely recommend lunchtime. One key thing I would recommend, this is for estimating quantity, and you saw that picture in the beginning where there's a lot of dim sum. And for me, it's very easy to over order if you're not actually tracking how many dishes you're ordering. But if you can track it, you can easily stay within the recommended guidelines. And here, what my recommended guidelines are, using a scaling factor, and this is that chart in the top left, the third column, scaling factor of 2.5. So what does the scaling factor mean? It means per person, you want to order 2.5 dishes. Earlier, a couple slides back, there's a menu and you had all these items. So each one of those items corresponds to one dish. And you can order 2 of one dish if you really like it. And the dishes are usually small and they're bite-sized and 3 or 4 things, either in steamers or on plates. So you order 2.5 a person. If you're going by yourself, you can order 2 or 3. If there's 2 people, that means you would order 5, 2.5 each. If there's 4 of you, then you would order 10 dishes, 4 times 2.5. Now, I do a bit of adjustment based on hunger level. So, hunger level, sometimes I'll poll people, ask them to rate their hunger on a scale of 1 to 10. If everyone seems average hunger, I'll use a 2.5. If people aren't so hungry, let's say an average of 6, maybe 6.5, then I might bring it down to 2 dishes per person. So a table of 4 who aren't so hungry, maybe you only order 8. And if you do this a couple times, you can start to adjust. If people are very hungry and like an 8, maybe even 8.5, 3 dishes per person is usually enough. And you can kind of pause there and then see if you want to order dessert after. For 4 people, 3 dishes each, that's 12. If you keep ordering and you order 20, clearly that's going to be a lot and too much, and you're going to be taking a lot home. I wouldn't do it for the sake of taking home. If you really want to have dim sum at home, you can buy frozen dim sum of restaurant quality that's really good, and I can recommend some places, and you'll pay less. You don't need to have the food heated and then just reheated. And I actually think a lot of the food from these dim sum restaurants is frozen to begin with. So some examples. I talked example 1, but example 2, if you have a mix of different people, a combination of 2 seniors, a 6-year-old, and 6 adults. So that's 9 people in total, 4 of which are very hungry. So how do you kind of figure this out? I mean, you could use this 2.5 each, maybe with some seniors and a 6-year-old, you might bring it down to 2. But here's just a way of applying kind of the formula that I've talked. 2 seniors, the way I rate seniors, I rate them at 50% rating, so 1.5 dishes a person. 2 seniors equals 3 dishes. A 6-year-old, maybe you give them 1 dish. And if you have 4 very hungry people, 4 times 3, let's use that higher scale of 12, that makes 16. And then with those 2 other people, we need 5 more, so that's 21 dishes. When you get larger numbers of people, you can kind of do this math, this mental math, you can write it down, or you can send me these numbers and I'll do a quick calculation and send it right back to you. There you go. This is how you get your scaling factor. And what I would do is stick assiduously to that number and not be swayed. If people want more things, then as you raise numbers, erase other ones and remove them. And once you get this magic number, submit and go ahead and order and feel comfortable that you'll have a good amount of food. And certainly if you don't have enough, you can always order at the end. These are small dishes and really good. One caveat, note number 4, some people may want to order off the menu as well. So you can get things like noodles, crispy Cantonese fried noodles, or a rice noodle with beef is a common dim sum noodle to get. Or there's like a vegetable dish. My favorite is the snow pea leaves sauteed in garlic with garlic and salt. And what you can do is if you want to order one of these dishes, I would give it a rating of 3, equivalent of 3 dishes. because these are bigger dishes. Usually they're going to cost about, $15, maybe 20, so 3 times the price of a small dish. Small dishes are around 5, 6, $7. So, price wise is kind of a gauge as well. Make it 3, and therefore, if you were going to order 21 dishes, you might order a vegetable dish, and then you only need to order 18 dim sum dishes. That's how you would apply that. On the right side, some adjustments. I indicated the hunger level adjustment. Seniors and the child, just assume they might eat 1 dish. They're going to eat less than an adult, maybe 2, depending on how old they are and how much they eat. And then portion sizes at restaurants. So this one's hard to know unless you've been there. Most restaurants, I think, are medium sized, but there are a few restaurants that have jumbo portions. In that picture that we saw earlier at the beginning, some of those eggplants were really large, and what they said was, they were so big that they were actually much fuller than they would have expected for the number of dishes that they ordered. So if that's the case, instead of ordering 2.5 per person, you may want to just bump it down to 2 per person if you know that a restaurant serves very large or larger portions. If in doubt, kind of have to look around, and you may even want to ask them to estimate, would you, if the portions are average compared to other dim sum restaurants, or above average or below average. Certainly you could do that. Okay, hope this is clear. This is kind of the key one, to estimate quantity. What to order, and especially if you're not familiar with it, you may need some guidelines. So here are a few guidelines that I've developed over time. 1, 65% of your items should be steamed. They're often in some subcategories: steamed, baked and fried, and deep fried. Maybe the baked and fried and deep fried might be together in some menus, but here's just an example. Kind of the left side and the top of the right is the steam section, and it's almost an indication of where you might want to get your choices from. So if you're ordering 10 dishes, maybe 7 of them are steamed, and you get 3 that are baked or fried or deep fried. And it's nice to have that the range of texture when you order, because ordering steamed is great and I think healthy, and you get different things, but certainly the fried, they're slightly different flavors, and are a nice complement to the steamed dishes. So just a general guideline, you want to order maybe twice as many steamed as the other types. But you're probably asking, like, what should you order specifically? So I've created a few menus with some of my favorites. And this is for 4 people, which is kind of, the recommended size, but certainly you could double. You could go if you wanted 8 people, and you could double the orders, or, if there's certain things that you don't like as much, maybe don't order them, or just order 1 and then try a few different other dishes and explore as you want there. So steamed dishes here, this one has 6, pretty close to that 65. My top 6 choices, actually there's only 5. There's 5 choices, but then I have the vegetables as kind of one of the options that plays in. I don't always get vegetables, but it's a nice addition to to the meal, since a lot of these dim sum restaurants don't include a lot of vegetable options in the menu. Shrimp dumplings, number 1, 4 pieces. That's top left. That's a kind of quintessential dim sum food that if you like shrimp, many people do, but if you don't like shrimp, then certainly this is not something you would want. Pork dumplings, in this case, is a little bit of orange and some fish roe. For texture, not much taste, but it's kind of raises the quality of it. Usually they're juicy dumplings. Many places add shrimp, and which increase the value of it. Some places don't, but I think in a lot of the places I go to, you would see that, and that's a top choice as well. I'm putting large here, but some restaurants might call this medium. And large, medium, and small is really determining price. Small dish might be $5, medium 6, large 7, and they'll range, and that's plus or minus $1, $2 depending on where you go. So you can kind of check that out. Number 3 and 4 are similar. It's a rice roll, so it's made with rice flour, and it's steamed, so it's like a noodle. It's like a wide noodle, and they'll put either beef inside, shrimp. These are the top 2 choices that I would recommend. The beef is really nice, it's soft. The shrimp is great. You can also get barbecue pork. Often there's a vegetable version, and those are good. And there's also a plain version. There might be dried shrimp. I don't recommend the dried shrimp. It's harder. It's fine, but the fresh shrimp is the one you want, which is pictured here. And so you may want to get a couple of those. They're usually 3 per plate, and they're cut in half or possibly cut into 9 pieces, so you can share with that. Comes with a sweetened soy sauce. It's a lighter soy sauce than the regular one. So if you do have regular soy sauce, I would not put that regular soy sauce on the this rice roll or cheng fan in Cantonese, cheng fan Mandarin. It would be too salty. So it's sweetened and it's also diluted a little bit, so the flavor is not as strong. Number 5 is in the middle, sticky rice with chicken and lotus leaf. This is nice. The lotus leaf imparts a nice flavor. It's steamed. The rice is glutinous. That's a chicken. There's some other flavoring. It's a bit of soy um, and possibly some egg. Don't eat the leaves. You open it up. Usually someone has a serving spoon, or you can ask for a serving spoon to, cut a piece. If it's 4, each person can take half. And that's usually enough rice to complement the other stuff and as a moderate filler. So this isn't really high protein, but there's a little, or sorry, high carb, but there's a little bit with this. If you don't want carb, then I would skip the rice and you can focus on the protein or add vegetable dishes for that. Fried and deep fried. So they're not like completely deep fried, but they are, maybe grilled or fried. The second row on the right, these are deep fried squid tentacles. Usually a top choice, and many people I know really like it. It has a neutral flavor, but the grilling kind of brings out this charring and has a really nice effect on it, and a great complement to the other elements. And if we go below that, then the bottom left is a shrimp and chive dumpling. Chives are, a bit of green, and you get the shrimp, and it's in it's in a wrap, and it's pan fried, so you get a bit of the crunch on the outside and a nice shrimp flavor on the inside. That one can be a top one. If it's large, great. Some places might charge extra large or special. It might be very expensive. So in those cases, I personally may not get it if it's in the super expensive range. But something to keep an eye out for. To the right of that, in the middle, is a deep fried glutinous rice dumpling. And usually there's 3, and you can get them cut in half. So if you have a table for 4, everyone can take half or maybe a full one. And then to the right of that is the green. That's the snow pea leaf. So if you're familiar with snow peas, they grow on vines and leaves. So this is actually taking the leaves that grow out, and usually they're tender, and depending on the time of year, they may be slightly harder, and definitely the softer ones are nice. A bit of garlic and salt and stir fried, or possibly in a soup, or possibly with king oyster mushrooms. There are a few different variations of it. I think they're all very good, so you could try that, and I think that's a great option. Overall, this meal combines a little bit of carb. You get a range of seafoods and meats, and certainly you can mix and match different things that you like, but this gives people a taste for a little bit of everything. So I like this menu. It's something I might get, especially for people new to dim sum. I think this has something for everyone. And then you may have to cater to different tastes and different different things that people might order. Here's a menu of 10 dishes for 4 people for slightly adventurous eaters. This gives you a sense of kind of things that I like, and also things that might be a little different and expand. So in the top, the shrimp dumpling and pork dumpling, the first 2, those are certainly very common and things that I like, and I will eat them all the time. And so I would recommend that. I think those are nice. To the right, there's a barbecue pork bun. Many people like this. There's a bit more carb. This one doesn't have the rice, so this could be an alternative. They also sometimes have a steamed chicken bun. So if you don't want to try the barbecue pork, which is like a sweet, salty, you can get the chicken bun, which is also very nice. To the right of that are beef balls, usually a very soft, steamed item, very good. The middle one here it's a bit slightly red. This is curry cuttlefish, or it might be octopus. So this is for a chewy flavor. If you don't want the squid tentacles, certainly there's a steamed version that's really good. Here, if I had to choose one on the left, rice roll, I would probably choose the shrimp. That's probably one that I like slightly over the beef, but really up to you. To the right of that, if you can find the shrimp and chive dumpling, I've included that. That's one of my favorite. Here's something that's a little different. This is a beef short rib under the fried section. Usually they're about 7 to 10 pieces. There may be a honey garlic. This one's a honey garlic kind of fried version. I've seen a steamed version of this, in general, I prefer the fried version. The steamed version is pretty good as well. So, and it's a little smaller. This one usually is extra large, or you have to pay, yeah, a premium on it. So keep that in mind. But certainly, it's very good, and I know it's a crowd favorite. To the right of that is a radish cake or turnip. It's actually like daikon radish, and it's mixed with some usually little pork bits and some rice flour, and it's mixed to make a little cake, which is then steamed. And then once you have the cake format, then they cut it and it's pan fried just to crisp it a little bit on the outside with a slightly salty flavor. So it's soft, it's chewy. You get some different textures. You might be able to taste and see little strips of the radish. This is a nice dish to try. It may not be first time something I'd recommend to try on the first time, but certainly many experienced eaters do like this, and something you might want to try in the future. Another slightly adventurous item is congee, which is the bottom center. It's a rice chowder, rice soup, porridge, congee, and there are different things you can get in it. Certainly, you can look through the list and choose what you want. One of the common ones, which is a little adventurous, lean pork and preserved egg. Preserved egg is like a black egg. It's chewy. It's different. It's usually made from duck egg, but it could be from chicken egg. It's possible. And I like the taste. It's a little different. It's fun to eat. So something you might experiment with. It's cut into small pieces. So you don't have to have a big piece each. A big piece. You can take some. The pork is certainly very nice. It's just pieces of pork, and in this it's salted. Usually there's like some other stock that helps to flavor it. It might be good with some white pepper as well. So a few things you can eat with this. So I think this is a nice, slightly different menu. And maybe I've touched on some things you want to sample or try on a future visit if you haven't tried these items before. And then here's some other items that just to point out, common to dim sum that might be worth trying. In the top left is beef tripe. More adventurous eaters, chewy, with some ginger strips. That's really nice. In the middle is kind of like a sweet and sour chicken feet, and often considered a delicacy. Some places overcook it and it falls off too easily. So there should be a little, they should be holding together. And really you're eating kind of the skin. There's a little bit of meat. It's not really high meat protein. In my mind, it's more for flavor. This is not one of my top choices, but certainly it's the flavors are done nicely. For cultures that are experienced eating chicken feet, this is a great option. And or if you want to try it and see if you like it. Bottom left, tofu in these rolls. Some come with pork, some are completely vegetarian, with bits of carrot and some other things. Usually these are pan fried, and so this could be like one of those crispy options. Usually there's 3. You can get them cut in half, so you get 6 pieces. That's kind of a nice one. Usually the flavor's a bit, I'd say, blander. Maybe good with a bit of soy sauce, or you can see if there are other sauces that you like dipping in it. Or if you're eating a lot of saucy food or very flavorful food, this can help to balance it. So maybe you don't need to add anything. So a few different options worth considering. Desserts. I haven't spent a lot of time talking desserts, but just quickly on the top right, egg tarts, egg custard tarts, common Hong Kong dessert, I think brought from the Portuguese and then adapted. Certainly there's the Hong Kong version, and Macau has a version of the egg tarts, which are great. The center column bottom are sesame balls. So it's a glutinous rice, so chewy, deep fried with, rolled in sesame. And then inside it could be one of, 3 things. It could be, black sesame paste. It could be lotus seed paste, which is a golden color. It could be red bean paste. My favorite is probably the black sesame paste. It's molten. It's delicious. It's slightly sweetened. It's kind of sandy and which is a nice complement to the slightly, sweet, salty, glutinous chewiness of the outside. This is a nice one. When it's fresh, it is great. So not one that I recommend you take home, and you probably wouldn't want to steam it to heat it. It's nice when it's crispy on the outside. One of my favorite. Bottom right is a bun, and this is steamed and comes in a steamer. The inside is this egg yolk kind of molten egg yolk, sweetened egg yolk custard cream. There are a few different types. There's some where it's not molten. This one is molten and it's nice. I like the, the runny texture, and there's a sweetened egg flavor. Definitely dessert flavor, and it goes nicely with the bun. Something different if you haven't tried that. So that concludes kind of the menu and the general options. I want to conclude with some overall tips and notes, just when you're ordering your next dim sum. First one, Northern style dim sum differs from Cantonese style. In Northern style, I mentioned in one of the earlier slides at the quiz at the beginning, Shanghai is kind of in central China, just on the East Coast. And then also Northern China they have food cuisines, and there are different foods. Asian Legend in Toronto is in the restaurant name, you'll see Northern style Chinese food. So there you would not go to order Cantonese dim sum, kind of like what I've shown here. So while they may offer shrimp dumplings and they may offer pork dumplings, you would not order those. You would order different things. They have, youtiao, like Chinese churros, unsweetened churros, or donuts. There's more wheat-based items, onion pancake, and beef and onion, and a few different other things. Xiaolongbao, which are the soup-filled dumplings that come steamed. So I would not order soup-filled dumplings in a Cantonese restaurant. They're a Shanghai food, much better in a Shanghai restaurant. Din Tai Fung or Asian Legend, and even a restaurant called Bao, B-A-O, in Toronto. There's a couple locations, one in Chinatown, one in the suburbs up north, are good options for something like that. And certainly there are many places, Shanghai 369, and offer soup-filled dumplings, and we can have another seminar on that if there's interest. Number 3, ask for communal chopsticks, forks, knives to cut the food. Oftentimes they'll serve maybe these green chopsticks. Those are ones to be used to get food, and that way people aren't eating with chopsticks and then dipping and touching and passing germs that way. So certainly recommend that. Number 4, tea is sometimes and often charged. I've seen it certainly post-pandemic. Places charge for tea. It might be $2 a person. Cheapest might be $1.50. A lot of places charge $2.50. If you order hot water, I think they'll still charge you for tea. You can ask them. If you order cold water, they may not, but some places might. You have to ask. If you have young children, they will usually waive the tea charges on that. So certainly ask about that. If you tell them, hey, there are 10 of us eating and only 6 people show up, you probably want to tell them, oh, by the way, only 6 people came. They won't charge you for the extra tea. Number 5, order based on the formula. And if you're still hungry, adjust. Noodle or rice dishes are good for hungry people. Sometimes you might feel you need carbs, but actually the formula without carbs, what I found, is generally good. If I said the average person is 2.5. If you know that you're going with people who eat a lot of food, or in general, they out eat, so maybe you do want to go 3. Certainly, there are times where we've used a 3.5 per person because we know we're very hungry. I think once we went 4 simply because it was early bird and we wanted to take advantage and we're happy to eat more. So you certainly can do that, but just make sure you know what you're getting into. And if in doubt, and most people, if you've eaten a little bit and you're kind of eating regular amounts, let's call it regular amounts, then 2.5 is still the number I go to. And the final tip, have fun. Make lots of noise. Dim sum is usually a time when you go with your either your family or your friends. A lot of families are going. It's on weekends, and even in the daytime, there are a lot of small tables because people normally go just by themselves or with small groups. It's not like a party, but certainly there are big tables that accommodate larger groups, and they're making noise. Everyone's having fun. It's not a place that's formal. You don't need to worry about what you say. You don't be quiet. You can make noise as you eat. Really, dim sum is one of my favorite meal experiences, and so I hope you'll take some of these tips and make use of them. Go and try some things. If you're in Toronto and want to have dim sum, please let me know. Would love to connect. And if you're in another city and want some suggestions, put your questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to respond. I may or may not know, or perhaps someone else reading may have some suggestions on where to go. That would be great too. So thank you very much for listening. I hope to have more of these. And if you did enjoy this, but you're interested in hearing kind of the full discussion with other people's comments, please join that, and I will see you next time. This is James Cheng. Thank you for joining.